A soldier ripped her night vision gear off mid-mission. She navigated the dark better than them. The desert had a way of swallowing sound whole. Sergeant Ava Thompson felt the strap of her night vision goggles digging into her scalp, the green haze flickering wrong across her vision, and in one violent motion, she tore the device off her head. For men behind her froze. In a war zone, blinding yourself on purpose could get you killed. But Ava had a reason, and it was about to save every life on that ridge. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening. It started 3 hours earlier, when the convoy rolled to a stop at the edge of a village that didn't exist on any updated map. The mission brief had been simple: escort, observe, extract. Nothing about tonight was supposed to be complicated. Ava had run 100 patrols like this one, her boots memorizing the rhythm of dust and gravel, her mind trained to stay 2 steps ahead of fear. But something about the stillness tonight sat wrong in her chest. The wind carried no dogs barking, no distant generators humming, just silence, thick and deliberate, the kind that made even veteran soldiers slow their breathing. She'd grown up the daughter of a mechanic in a small Ohio town, the girl who fixed her own bike chains and never once waited for someone else to solve her problems. That stubborn independence had followed her into the Army, through basic training where instructors doubted her, through deployments where she'd had to prove herself twice as hard for half the credit. She carried that same fire now, tucked beneath her calm exterior, as she raised a fist to halt the 4 men behind her. They moved forward into the maze of mud brick homes, their night vision units painting the world in ghostly green. Every doorway was a question mark. Every shadow could hide a threat. Corporal Ruiz, walking point beside her, kept glancing sideways, silently trusting her instincts the way soldiers learn to trust the ones who've earned it. She'd earned it, slowly, painfully, over years of proving she belonged in rooms that hadn't wanted her there. Then the goggles glitched. A faint electronic stutter crossed her vision, a flicker so brief most would have dismissed it. Ava didn't dismiss anything. She'd learned that the hard way, in a different desert, a different year, when ignoring a small detail had cost a friend his leg. She thought she'd never trust her gut again after that day. She was wrong. She ripped the goggles off. The others stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Without the artificial green glow, the alley plunged into true darkness, the kind most people spend their lives afraid of. But Ava didn't flinch. She let her eyes adjust the old way, the human way, the way scouts had navigated night for centuries before technology promised to do it for them. Slowly, shapes emerged from shadow. A doorway that sat 2 inches off from the others. A rooftop silhouette that didn't match the building beneath it. Her pulse steadied instead of racing, because clarity, real clarity, had just arrived. Something's wrong with the signal, she whispered. It's not random static. It's being jammed. The men exchanged glances. Jam night vision meant someone nearby had the equipment and the intent to blind an entire patrol on purpose. That wasn't insurgent improvisation. That was preparation. That was a trap. Every soldier faced a choice in that instant, the kind that lives forever in the space between duty and fear. Push forward blind, trusting technology that had just betrayed them, or retreat, and risk leaving something dangerous active in a village full of civilians who might wake up to violence at dawn. Ava felt the weight of both outcomes pressing against her ribs. There was no easy answer, only the one that felt right in her bones. She chose to keep moving, using her own eyes instead of the failing devices, guiding her team by memory, instinct, and the careful reading of moonlight against stone. The others followed her lead, goggles flipped up, trusting the woman who refused to be blinded by anything, literal or otherwise. Near the last row of houses, she spotted it, a thin wire strung ankle-high across a doorway, invisible to any screen but painfully clear to a trained human eye adjusted to darkness. A single step from Ruiz would have triggered it. She threw her arm out, stopping him inches from disaster. Nobody spoke. The only sound was 4 hearts pounding in unison, the desert wind moving dust across moonlit stone like a held breath finally released. They disarmed the device together, hands steady despite the adrenaline, movements practiced and precise, a team functioning as one organism instead of 4 separate fears. When the last wire went silent, Ava exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. Somewhere behind them, A village slept without knowing how close danger had crept toward its doorstep, and how one soldier's decision to trust her own eyes over borrowed technology had rewritten the night's ending. Back at base, nobody threw a parade. Nobody needed to. Ruiz found her near the supply tent afterward, his voice quiet with something deeper than gratitude. "You saw what the tech missed," he said. "You saw what we all missed." Ava just shrugged, though something warm settled behind her ribs, the quiet pride of a woman who'd spent years being underestimated finally, standing in a moment where doubt had no room left to breathe. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And sometimes, courage doesn't look like charging into danger. Sometimes it looks like a woman standing still in the dark, trusting herself when the whole world told her to trust the machine instead. If this story moved you, tell us in the comments what part hit hardest. We read every single one. And if you believe stories like Ava's deserve to be told, hit subscribe, because there are so many more voices out there still waiting for their moment to be seen.